Have you ever wondered if everything we know about our history might be a carefully crafted illusion? A story rewritten not to enlighten us, but to hide something vast, uncomfortable, and possibly world-changing? Today we're diving deep into one of the strangest, most forbidden ideas in modern historical debate, that around the year 1700 the world didn't just experience progress, it experienced a reset. And that the ruins we walk past, the monuments we marvel at, the cathedrals, domes, and megalithic structures weren't built by the people we think they were. Throughout the 16th and 17th centuries, European artists like Giovanni Battista Piranesi filled their canvases with images that seemed otherworldly: grand stone ruins, colossal arches, and cities that looked like the aftermath of something divine or catastrophic. Historians told us these were fantasies. But what if they weren't? What if these artists weren't dreamers, but documentarians of a real world that had just collapsed? A world where ordinary people wandered among the remains of something far beyond their comprehension. Imagine walking through the streets of Rome, Paris, or Prague in the year 1700. Everywhere you look are shattered domes, broken aqueducts, and towers too massive for human hands to have built. Peasants sell fruit in front of crumbling marble columns. Children play among giant archways big enough to drive a modern jet through. Does that sound like the Europe we were taught about? Something changed around 1700. A global calendar reform swept across Europe almost simultaneously. Overnight, nations rewrote their timekeeping systems, dropping thousands of years from their historical record. According to official history, this was just a Gregorian calendar correction. But why would every major power, churches, monarchies, empires, synchronize such a radical shift, all within a few years of each other? Was it really about aligning with the sun or about erasing something from the past? The old calendar marked the year 7208, from the creation of the world. In the new one, that same year became 1700 AD. It's as if someone pressed a universal reset button on human history, cutting off everything that came before and starting civilization anew. Let's take a closer look at what survived from this supposed old world. Across Europe and beyond, we find structures that make no architectural sense. Massive granite arches, doorways taller than any human needs, ceilings so high, heating or cooling them would be impossible without advanced technology. The official story? These were just stylistic choices. But that explanation falls apart when you see the same building patterns, the same engineering methods in places that supposedly had no contact with each other. From ancient temples in India to cathedrals in Spain, from fortresses in Peru to towers in Russia, the same impossible precision, the same uncanny familiarity. Could these be remnants of one global civilization that predated our known history? A civilization wiped out not by war, but by something else. Something massive happened around that time, a natural event, or perhaps something even greater. Records from every corner of the world describe violent climate shifts, earthquakes, sky anomalies, and mass depopulation. Entire cities vanished, and those that survived seemed to emerge from the dust repopulated by people who didn't seem to understand the world they'd inherited. In paintings from the early 1700s, we see these people living among ruins as if they were perfectly normal. Shepherds tending sheep under half-collapsed arches. Nobles hosting dinners inside hollowed-out temples. These aren't just artistic whims, they're snapshots of a post-apocalyptic reality. A world where humanity started again from the rubble of something vast and forgotten. So what happened to the builders? Who were they? And how could their knowledge advanced enough to carve cities from mountains vanish so completely? There are two main theories. The first says the builders were giants, literal beings of enormous size. But there's no solid evidence for that. No bones, no fossils. The second theory is far stranger yet far more logical. The builders were people, like us. But they possessed knowledge and technology so advanced that to us, it would look like magic. Maybe they had energy systems that could lift blocks effortlessly. Maybe they used sound, magnetism, or forces we don't yet comprehend. And when their civilization fell, whether from catastrophe, cosmic event, or their own hubris, we inherited their world, but not their wisdom. We became the squatters of a fallen empire, peasants in the palace of gods. If that's true, then why haven't we been told? Why would our history books erase a civilization that came before us? The answer might be disturbingly simple: control. When the survivors of the 1700 catastrophe rose to power, they needed legitimacy. You can't rule over ruins and claim divine authority unless you rewrite the story, unless you turn yourself into the rebuilder, the hero who resurrected civilization from chaos. And so the Dark Ages were born. 1,000 years of nothingness, conveniently separating the great ancient world from the Renaissance. A patch of historical fog that allows any inconsistency, any impossibility, to be neatly filed away. They told us the ancients built impossible wonders, then forgot how. They told us humanity stumbled through ignorance for 1,000 years until the enlightened elites restored it. But what if that 1,000-year gap never existed? What if our entire timeline was compressed, fabricated, and rearranged to hide the truth that the old world collapsed not long ago, and that we are living in its aftermath? Here's where it gets truly mind-bending. What if we ourselves are part of the experiment left behind by that vanished civilization? Think about it. Humans are uniquely unfit for survival compared to every other animal. No fur, no claws, no natural armor. We rely completely on tools, shelter, and external support, as if we were never meant to survive without them. Could it be that those tools, those first shelters, were gifts? That we were placed here equipped with the basics and left to develop on our own? Just like we build enclosures for pets, our creators might have built starter environments, ready-made cities, so we could survive while we learned to fend for ourselves. And what we call ancient ruins might actually be the remnants of those enclosures, our first homes, our first laboratories, our first cage. Over time, we forgot what they were. We started to worship them. We turned the machines of the past into temples, their images into icons, their tools into relics. We became a species reenacting sacred rituals without remembering why. Just like the island tribes of Melanesia built straw airplanes hoping to summon cargo that would never come again, we too might be replaying a memory of gods who once walked among us. Let's go back to the ruins. Everywhere across the earth, from Machu Picchu to Baalbek, from the pyramids to the Kremlin, we see the same thing: monumental architecture that defies logic and technology for its time. Granite blocks weighing hundreds of tons fitted with microscopic precision. Stone carvings that seem laser-cut. Columns that would take modern cranes weeks to move. Why? Because they weren't built with the tools of the people who claimed them. They were built long before by someone else entirely. We didn't build civilization. We inherited it. And maybe, just maybe, the catastrophe of 1700 was the final act that wiped the slate clean, burying the last remnants of that advanced world under the dust of recorded history. So what could have caused this global reset? There are whispers among researchers of a geomagnetic event, a solar flare, a comet impact, or even something more deliberate, a technological disaster unleashed by the very civilization that built those wonders. Whatever it was, it didn't just destroy cities, it erased memory. It broke communication, shattered archives, and plunged survivors into a primitive age. And those survivors, our ancestors, did the only thing they could. They rebuilt, repurposed, and renamed what they found. They turned power stations into cathedrals, observatories into temples, and advanced machines into symbols of divine worship. Within a few generations, the story was rewritten. And by the time historians came along to document it, the myth had already become truth. Maybe that's why so many scholars quietly avoid discussing that period, because the evidence doesn't fit neatly into the official timeline. The architecture is too advanced, the global cultural shift too sudden, and the synchrony of calendar reforms too suspicious. It's as if humanity hit a wall, then instantly rebooted with new rulers, new maps, new languages, and a new version of history. We call it the Enlightenment. But what if it was really the dawn of amnesia? Perhaps the ruins we stare at in awe aren't just remnants of the past. Perhaps they're messages, warnings left behind by those who came before. Remember what we built. Remember who you are. Don't repeat our mistake. But we forgot. We worshiped the symbols instead of reading the signs. We built museums around mysteries instead of decoding them. And in doing so, we may have trapped ourselves in the same cycle, rising, falling, resetting, again and again. If humanity has been here before, if we are the latest iteration of a story written, erased, and rewritten across millennia, then who is holding the pen? Is history really the record of human progress or the record of human resets? And if a reset really did happen in 1700, how close are we to the next one? What do you think? Is this all coincidence, or is there something deeper behind the ruins and timelines? Are we the survivors of a forgotten civilization, or the children of a grand experiment? Let's explore the evidence together, because once you start looking, you'll realize the world around us still whispers its secrets. And maybe, just maybe, the truth about who we really are is written not in books, but in stone. Like, share, and subscribe if you want to keep uncovering the buried truths of our past. Because the deeper we dig, the more we find that the past isn't behind us, it's beneath us.